sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
The New York Times has A.O. Scott.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Rolling Stone has Peter Travers.
Your clothes, give them to me.
And we have these guys. Eric Drost.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
Rob McDonald.
Like a miniature Buddha, covered in hair.
And Adam Kinech.
My God, it's full of stars.
They're no critics, just a few guys who love movies. This is The Fresh Take.
Apparently Alan's been off his meds for almost 6 months.
Oh, God. Look at him now.
We're all here to tell you about an awesome place called New Horizons.
That does sound awesome.
Alan, this is an intervention.
We drive you there today, and I promise you will come back a changed man.
You going, Phil?
I love you, Alan.
And that right there is the Hangover 3. That is the finale.
Part 3. Hangover Part
3.
Yeah.
The Hangover Part 3.
Like
yeah. It's the Hangover. It's the third installment of the Hangover franchise, and it is now all over. It has come to an end.
Tear.
And
shed a tear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is the Fresh Take, everyone.
Is gone.
Yes. Though no more Wolfpack. This is the Fresh Take, and we're in in a way missing a member of our wolf pack here. We're Adam Kinechless today.
Yeah.
So it's just Eric Drost and Rob McDonald in studio, and we did check out The Hangover Part 3. And The Hangover Part 3, let's just get right into it. It is directed by Todd Phillips, starring Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Ken Jeong, Melissa McCarthy, John Goodman, and that's about it.
Heather Graham's in there too.
Heather Graham's in it too, but that's about
More
it.
of a cameo.
Mike Epps is in it.
Oh yeah. As Black Doug.
That's right, Black Doug. Yeah, and Jeffrey Tambor as Sid.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so so The Hangover Part 3. What did you think off the top of The Hangover?
You know what? I thought I was gonna like this movie much more, especially considering how bad the second one was. But I honestly say I did like it better, but marginally, if anything. This is still a bad movie, I would say. I don't even know if it should be called Hangover because, I mean, spoiler alert: there's no hangover in this movie. You can see it from the commercials. They're doing something else for John Goodman throughout this whole movie, and there's no hangover. So it's more of Wolfpack Part 3, I guess. That's what we should call it.
Now, you just said you didn't like The Hangover Part 2. So you were one of those people that didn't like The Hangover Part 2 because it was the same as The Hangover. It just wasn't as funny. Right?
Yeah,
that's the main reason.
Well, it did the same thing and just it tried to take a more
but now
serious
you didn't
note.
like this one because there was no hangover. So I'm just trying to understand because that's because I've heard this already.
That's not why I did not like this one. That's not the primary reason. It's just it shouldn't really be called a hangover movie if there is no hangover. So you could there's a way to make it not the front of storyline. Like obviously I thought that this one was going to be something more, but again, they tried to take it that dark look. Where,
so you wanted this movie to be different than the first two, but it didn't hold up to your expectations.
It's a difficult way. It's a difficult way when you do such a good movie like that has this very exact scenario and make all these sequels about it and make it different, but also the same at the same time. And I don't know. Maybe to be honest, maybe The Hangover's just should have been on part 1.
Well, it's funny because I've been talking, whenever you talk to people about The Hangover, the original Hangover was so funny because it was kind of everyone remembers that trailer with them just waking up and all of a sudden there's a tiger in their bathroom and they have no idea what happened last night, and now they're just trying to reconstruct their day and they're trying to reconstruct what happened the night before. If anybody has ever gotten drunk before, if anyone has ever, kind of woken up the next day and to the point where you don't remember a lot of the things that happened the day before. That's exactly what that movie was, and it went
the beauty
along
of the
with
first movie. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what we all say after we get drunk is, "I'm never doing that again," and then we all do it again.
Yeah.
Hence, Hangover Part 2. I had no problem with it. I had absolutely no problem with it. And that was, I've been saying that since The Hangover 2 came out. And I would have had no problem with The Hangover Part 3 doing it again. Because we have all been there. We have all done it. The problem is that people don't want to see the same thing. They change it, and now everyone hates it. This movie has probably the worst reviews that I've seen in a while from anybody. And on top of that, I hated this movie. I didn't like it, and this movie is the biggest disappointment so far this year. In the almost 6 months that we're in to this year, this is the biggest disappointment for me because I had expectations, and it's the biggest disappointment. I'm not talking about seeing other movies where I just didn't think anything of and it was bad. I'm talking about this movie could have been so much more if they went just back and redid The Hangover. And they just changed it and made it bigger. Look at The Expendables. What do they do in The Expendables? All they do is make the same movie, except they make it bigger and better. They just bring in more people. They bring in more explosions. They bring in more actors. There could have been cameos in this movie. They could have added people. It would have been amazing. It would have been cheap laughs and it would have worked.
That's the same, but The Hangover, Expendables, has a way to do it, again, by expanding their cast, adding more, type of stars and everything. And right, you're right.
Anchorman does it. Anchorman just brings in cameos all the time.
We don't know what that's going to turn out yet.
No, but I'm just saying they do it, right? So they could have just, they did it. There's going to be, Harrison Ford's going to be, there's going to be cameos in that movie. Yeah. There's going to be cameos in it. They had ample opportunity. They had Mike Tyson in the second one. Why didn't they bring anybody? Nobody.
I was just surprised about that. I thought for sure Mike Tyson was going to be in this third one, but no Mike Tyson in it at all.
Because they listened to the crowd of people that said The Hangover 2 was the same as The Hangover 1 and it was bad. So what they decided to do was to make a storyline, and the storyline was garbage. They made the storyline around the wrong people. As much as I like Mr. Chow, he is not. He shouldn't be a front character, and neither should be Alan. Alan is a background character. That's why Alan was funny in The Hangover, because he was the guy that had the shades on and the baby hanging off his chest with the shades on. That's why he was funny.
Jokes.
And now they made it about him, and he just doesn't have the personality. He doesn't have the what you and. They have perhaps one of the funniest characters, in my opinion, when I really think about it, in Ed Helms. Ed Helms is a fucking dentist, okay, that goes on these crazy journeys. What is more boring than a dentist? Tell me. An accountant, maybe, sure. A lawyer, but a dentist is a boring profession. You're looking into people's mouths, and the reason why it was funny in the first one is because you have this dentist going through all these crazy things, and he's like, "What the hell is happening here?" They could have done so much more in this movie. And the problem, and it's just my feeling on it, I think that they listened to everyone that was bitching after the second one, they never even got drunk in this movie. They didn't even get drunk in it. That's
where they could have added some type of hangover element where just on their way. I don't know why they had to take all that beginning detour with I thought this movie was going to be primarily Vegas, because that's what they was billed as. It's the return to Vegas, but really they're only in Vegas for the last 30 minutes, 45 minutes of the movie?
Well, and that's why I thought the movie, and that's why I was looking forward to the movie. It was precisely because of that, because, they made it seem like they're going back to Vegas. So I thought, okay, they're going to get drunk again. They're going to, they're going to forget everything. It's going to go back to its roots.
Capture at some time.
And it's going back to its roots where, they promised themselves they're never going to go back. And yet again, here they are, and they wake up again, and, the screen, because I envisioned it, the screen gets blurry at some point, they wake up again and they go, "Oh my God, here we go again. We're in Vegas and this is all happening again." And that would have been a perfect ending to this franchise, because I don't understand why they had to institute the storyline. I have no idea why they had to go the drug route, there's people chasing them, and I think it ends up being so dumb, and they get away from what worked. That just bugs me to no end. It's all of a sudden, and we were talking about The Expendables, and I'll go back to it because I don't care if they didn't in the first or in the second Hangover bring in cameos. Start doing it. Just do it in the third one. Just bring in all these people where all of a sudden it would just make it funny.
Bill Clinton was supposed to be in the second one. Bring him in Clinton for the third. Why not,
exactly.
Right?
just bring in people and just do the same things that you did in the first Hangover. Just do it bigger now. And even if it didn't work still, like if it wasn't as funny as the first Hangover, I think it would have been a lot funnier than this. Most of the funny parts were in the previews in this movie.
Pretty much, and it's funny that we're talking about this right now because it just made me realize it right now is that the way Todd Phillips decided to do these two sequels is he's gonna make the second one exactly the same as the first one, down to like the twists and what's going on with the story about how always someone has to get lost and they're trying to find him. That's why I hated about the second one because it was the exact same movie. They just change names, change stuff going, like little details. And this one was completely the opposite. It was completely the other side of it all, where it is almost nothing to do with the other ones.
Yeah, but I still, like, when I think about the second one and I think about the things that happened in the second one, all I remember is laughing through it. That's all I remember doing through the movie.
I didn't even laugh that much with it.
Really? Fucking Ed Helms gets fucked up the ass. In the second movie, he gets fucked up the ass, and
that's good.
And there's a monkey. In the first one, you had the tiger
getting shot.
Yeah, you had the tiger in the first one. You had the
Cooper
monkey
getting shot.
Yeah, you had the monkey in the second one. The one thing that I did like is that there was again animals in this one, in the chickens. When there was the chicken scene, when the roosters were pecking, and Mr. Chow shoots at Ed Helms, and he and then he suffocates the one. So there was still elements in it. There were elements in it where I thought, man, I wish it just kept going along this route, because the thing is that for the first one, I'm assuming they said, okay, this is going to be the Hangover. We have this script here. Let's all now brainstorm how people feel after a hangover. And if you've ever been drunk, again, I'm going to go back to this, you wake up and you don't remember. And then as you're going along through the day, like bits and pieces start coming back. So all of a sudden somebody will mention something to you and you'll be like, oh wait, yeah, I do remember that. And that's how it starts coming back. So they go out on this journey and they start meeting people where it's like, oh, don't you remember this happened? And it's like, oh wait, yeah, I do remember that. And then there's a flashback, right? That's funny. If they just did that again, just made it more crazy, just made it even more like unbelievable, I think that they would have gotten a lot more laughs and kept Bradley Cooper and Ed Helms as the centerpieces, kind of, and have Zach Galifianakis. And here's the other thing: they had John Goodman is funny. He can be really funny, and they didn't really utilize him at all, right? He was his, I don't even know what you want to call him, but I guess he was a. Did they even say that he's a drug guy? They didn't even say. He was some rich guy that stole money.
Big boss,
Yeah, this big typical boss man that kind of runs, these henchmen. But other than that, they didn't even explain like what his deal is, right? And again, as much as I like Chow in the other movies, I think that they centered on him too much. I really do. I think they kind of made it about him and Alan, right? They kind of made it about those two, like without, going into too many spoilers, although there really aren't any huge spoilers. And then here's the other thing. I mentioned John Goodman. They had Melissa McCarthy. And I'm not a huge fan of hers, but I know a lot of people like her and think she's really funny. They didn't really do anything. She was in it for how long altogether?
Well, yeah,
maybe 10 minutes.
She wasn't even a part of the credits at all.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a scheduling issue and they just wanted to get her in because, again, I guess that would be like the perfect type of actress that you would pair with Zach Galifianakis type of scenario. And they had her in for a couple laughs here and there, mostly from the trailers. But yeah, I mean,
other than that, it just like it flopped. Everything around it flopped, and it's no wonder why it's getting the reviews it is, and it's really hurting. And it's really like, I think when you end off a franchise of this kind of magnitude with the potential it had after the first one, it's ending on such a downward spiral. It pretty much if you picture an airplane taking flight in the first one, in the second one it started to descend, and in the third one it just went spiraling down and it crashed and it burned.
Yeah,
that's the way I would
Denzel
describe.
Wasn't there to pull it out. Tailspin.
yeah, exactly. There was no, maybe if they threw the Rock in it, he'd be saving a franchise, again, because that's
Speaking of which, I saw Fast 6 as well. I told you this beforehand. I think that's really the movie that we should have saw.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate we couldn't see that Hangover would be this much of a disaster.
No, I don't think
I wouldn't call it a disaster though, because I still think I liked it more than the second one. Because I think I found myself laughing more in this one.
To me, this is by far the worst one of the three, and I think it was upsetting. Like, I was driving home after I saw it, and I was actually upset because I had such high expectations. Because
I was the same way.
Because I thought that they're going to actually just go over the top. If this is your last movie, why not just go over the top?
Yeah,
just go over the top. It's kind of like when you think it's enough, just add 10% onto it. You know what I mean? Like, you think you've hit a wall, just keep going.
See, that's the thing. I mean, that's the same thing I thought about Iron Man 3 is, they have all these, when they do third movies, they always try to do it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes I think they do it too big. It's overproduced a little bit at some points. But then I see something like this, and this was underproduced, like you said.
Yeah, it's underproduced.
Yeah, like this one should have gone, that extra mile of, whether it is, doing something like bringing back Paul Giamatti just for something like that.
Yeah.
Even though as much as I hated that character.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just do something. There are so many comedians in Hollywood that I'm sure if they approached and said, "Do you want to play this ridiculous role in The Hangover Part 3?"
And just
absolutely.
Like a little cameo or whatever, right? Yeah.
Just anything, you know what I mean? Just some kind of crazy taxi driver or somebody.
Man outside Melissa McCarthy's shop.
Yeah,
or something,
just
right?
something, and just have kind of these little tiny storylines that keep swerving. That's what the first one was, and it just. I don't know. It's just a big disappointment, and the thing about the reason I think that Adam and I both wanted to see The Hangover Part 3 over Fast and the Furious 6 for this week because this was the end of a franchise, right? Like, there's going to be another Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah,
they've already announced it, right?
Yeah, it's very evident what the story is going to be at the end of the Fast.
Right,
6.
exactly. And Fast and the Furious 6, we thought like, okay, but with this was like they're ending it, right? And again, now having said all of that, there were a few times where I did laugh really hard. There were a few moments still in this movie where I found really funny, like the one where they're on top of the Caesar casino and Zach Galifianakis falls off onto the Caesar sign. Like, I started laughing really hard, right, because he was just
close to death.
Yeah, he was that close to death, right? And so there were still scenes in it where they're...
And even though we saw it in the trailers, seeing the full explicit version of the giraffe scene.
Yeah, that was still funny. And I keep going, though, back to the underutilization of Ed Helms in this movie. Nothing happens to him. If you go back to the other two movies, he's had like physically something happen, like he lost a tooth. Remember in the other, like
he was almost the main character of the second one, movie.
Yeah. But like and something always ridiculous happens to him. Nothing happens to him in this movie. He is kind of the guy, like it's Bradley Cooper and Zach Galifianakis off on this like thing, like near the end
Zach
there.
Galifianakis even.
Yeah.
Maybe
but Bradley Cooper's with him when they're trying to find Chow there at the Caesar thing, and then Ed Helms is the guy that's just waiting outside with the car. Like that's all his character is doing in this movie.
The only storyline of his is that. Is he a doctor or is he not a doctor?
Yeah,
that's
I'm a doctor.
The revolution for him.
Am I a doctor or am I a dentist? So again, it failed on a few levels. I didn't find Chow as funny as I thought I would. John Goodman was not utilized properly, in my opinion. And the main three, they focused on the wrong one. In my opinion, they focused on Alan, where they...
Now to think about it, maybe this could have been the opportunity that you focus on Bradley Cooper, because he hasn't had a focus in any of these movies.
He's just kind of like the cool one out of the three, right? He's kind of like the one that is kind of like, the Bachelor type or whatever, right? So, but yeah, so that's that. Yeah, and Epic was the other movie that came out, and no one saw that. No. So there you go.
Kids will see it today.
Kids will see it, yeah. And I might as well.
Yeah.
What's next week? I didn't even look. It's After Earth.
After Earth, and Now You See Me, but I guess we'll be seeing it.
After Earth is probably the one
M.
that.
Night Shyamalan.
Well, you know what? Now You See Me is getting a lot of acclaim. Actually, it's I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it, but After Earth, Will Smith.
Yeah.
And
it's a shame we couldn't see Now You See Me instead of It's a shame we couldn't see Now You See Me instead of Burt Wonderstone earlier this year. That would have been probably nicer.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be back next week. That's it for this week. My opinion is, if you want to just see this franchise end, go see the movie, because there's still, like, you're still going to get kind of closure on it, because there is actually like a definitive ending.
Let's just
write
our own fan fiction. We'll write a better.
Final. Man, and that's the thing. Like, if I had a chance to write this movie, I would have written it so much better. I really would have. And I know nothing about the business of writing for movies, but I would have done, if I had a writer with me and he could just write everything I thought of, then it would have been fantastic. If I was just the idea guy,
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so we'll be back next week. Adam should be back next week with After Earth. Thanks very much for tuning into the Fresh Take, and make sure you're following us on Twitter at Fresh Take Show. On Facebook, just search us by searching The Fresh Take, and our website, thefreshtake.ca. We'll be back next week. Have a good one.
I can't believe my daddy is dead. I can think of so many people I would rather have died first. Like my mother.
That was our take. Now give us yours. Like The Fresh Take on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Fresh Take Show.